And here to remind us of why these services are so critical is the star of our show tonight, Brioni Harris. I've known Brioni for a few years now, and it has been an absolute joy of mine to see her grow into the beautiful, confident young woman she is today. It has also been my distinct joy to learn from her. This is a young lady who has tremendous faith, that I often say that her stubbornness and her willingness to get it done is sometimes her best quality, but could also be the quality that kind of holds her back a little bit. But through it all, her faith, her commitment, her dedication to young people. She said, I ain't even up there yet, and I'm already crying listening to it. That is what has got her to this point, and she is one shining example and represents the many young people in First Place. So I am very proud to bring and introduce our keynote speaker of the night, Ms. Brioni Harris.
Good evening. My name is Brioni Harris, and I'm an alumni of First Place for Youth, as well as a former employee of the organization. It is an honor to be here with you tonight to tell you about my story and share what an impact First Place has had on my life. Not too long ago, I had the opportunity to view my closed case files, which reflects my time spent in the foster care system. My hope was that this will calm my uneasiness about having taken my story only at face value throughout my life. But sadly, it just brought me to tears. I was born prematurely and needed fragile medical attention, as my mother had very little prenatal care while carrying me. There was a positive toxicology for drugs in my system. Oftentimes, in my early childhood, I would be hospitalized for various reasons. I suffered from formula intolerance, asthma, dehydration, pneumonia, and more. Some of this I have no recollection of, and some I recall quite vividly. By age 1, I weighed only 12 pounds and 9 ounces. I was not able to use my legs independently. My gross motor skills were at those of a level of a 6-month-old. And my social and fine motor skills were delayed by 12 months. It was obvious that remaining in the care of my mother would have been a substantial risk to my well-being, as I would have continued to be subjected to abandonment and rejection. So the state of California decided to put me in long-term placement in the foster care system, and I became a ward of the court. Flashing forward, my siblings and I remain separated. My mother is transient and suffers from bipolar disorder, and my father is incarcerated, facing a 15-year prison sentence. I was placed with a legal guardian, but unfortunately, I encountered a great deal of verbal and even physical abuse throughout my childhood and teenage years. I would isolate myself often because of the depression it caused. For years, this made me very unsure of my capabilities and the type of future I would have. Truthfully, I never felt that I was capable of much or that I would have a successful future. This is not to mention that growing up was already filled with unanswered questions and feelings of lonesomeness and embarrassment and lots of empty promises of reunification. As emancipation year for me, I became very anxious. Unfortunately, I learned that my birth certificate and other identifying items had not been protected while I was in care. As a result, my identity had been stolen. My early adulthood was put off for an entire year, as it is impossible to navigate through our system without an identity. Within this year, I continued to have altercations with my caregiver, only now they were were more intense because I too had become a woman. Eventually, this led to one cold December morning when I was told to leave the only home I knew. My prideful resilience would not allow me to plead to remain in my home. Even though I was out on my own and living out of my car, I was at peace. Finally, I made the decisions. I understood that my employment wages would hardly be enough for me to take care of monthly expenses in addition to renting out a place to live, but I have unshakable faith that as long as my efforts were good intent, all of those loose ends will come together in due time.